Hi guys, my name is Bobby and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing my March wrap-up. Now the month of March was alright for reading. I only read 5.5 books, which isn't terrible, but it's not great either. But yeah, it was one of those months. My daughter Danielle has started softball. She started softball this month. It goes through the end of May. She has softball 4 days a week. I'm the team mom and the head scorekeeper, so I'm in the dugout for all of her games, and I'm at every practice, and it takes up a lot of my time. So hopefully my reading I can keep up with, but in the next couple months expect it to be a little bit less than it normally is. So other than that and being busy all the time, I just kind of got into a funk this month where I didn't really want to read much, and all I wanted to do was binge watch TV. So I did a lot of that. I finished watching Supernatural. I'm all caught up now. I watched a whole bunch of ID Discovery, and like I tell my husband, it's just ways to figure out how to kill you and get away with it, or how not to kill you, which he finds amusing. So I just didn't really want to read that much, and it was just kind of one of those months, which kind of segues into the first book I want to talk about, which is Priory of the Orange Tree. I have not, by Samantha Shannon. I have not finished this book yet. This is one of those books that was super intimidating. I was so scared to start it, and when I did, I absolutely loved it. Like, this book is phenomenal. It's absolutely amazing. But I have yet finished it. Like, I got, which last night was when I read some more. I'm literally halfway through. I'm on page 407, I think. 407 of an 804-page book. Goodreads puts it at 827, but that includes, like, the glossary of people and the glossary of places and terms, so I don't really count that. The story ends on page 804. So I'm literally halfway through. I'm at the halfway mark. And this book is absolutely fabulous. It's very engaging. I really enjoy it, but I could have easily finished it this month. Easily. Like, if I would have just sat down and just read every day, I could have easily finished this. A ton of people finished it in March. It came out, they started reading it, and they finished it. I, for some reason, just didn't have the motivation. I got into this funk, and I just didn't want to read. I'm hoping to finish it this month, in April, because it is amazing. But this, here, I'm going to put this down. It is so heavy. Priory of the Orange Tree, like, how do you describe what this book is about? It is a high fantasy, which is very female-centric. So it's a female-oriented and, like, centered high fantasy. It's a singular book. It's a standalone. It is not a series, which it's, as I'm reading it, I'm kind of sad it's not, because the world is really great. It is about, it's told in, like, from 4 different perspectives and different parts of this world. So either the East or the West. So in the West, you have Ede, who is a handmaiden to the Queen of Innis, which is one of the lands there. And you get her story, and there's a little bit more to her than meets the eye. So you get from her perspective, which gets the inner workings of Queen Sabran, who is the Queen of Innis and is the head of House Brethnet, who they believe in this world, or in the western part of this world, that the Nameless One, which is one of the biggest, meanest, most evil dragon-like creatures, cannot rise as long as there's a Brethnet in power. So it's imperative that she remains alive until she's able to born a female heir. And it's a queendom, so it has to be a female heir. And in all of history, the queen has always given birth to one child. It is always a daughter. It's just kind of how it's always been. And so Ede is like her bedfellow, works as a lady of the bedchamber, whatever, so you get her perspective and you get the inner workings of Queen Sabran's court. Also in the West is Loth, Lord Loth, and he starts in the West but then ends up going to the South, and he kind of goes all over the place, and he is a good friend of Queen Sabran and is sent away, so you get his point of view as he travels in the different parts of the world. And then you have the perspectives of the East, which the first one that's most important is Tane, and she is a girl who is going to a school to become like a dragon rider, because in the East you can become dragon riders, and so she's got a very interesting perspective, you know, like going through the school and becoming a dragon rider and stuff like that, and what's going on with her. And then you have Nicholas Roos, who is he's also in the East most of the time. He's moved around, but he's predominantly in the East, and he's an alchemist, and he's got some other shady shit going on. He's gay. But he's just kind of like a shady character. Like, he has good intentions, but he's an interesting character. I won't be sad if he dies. Let me put it that way. But you get his perspective too. So those are the 4 main perspectives that are telling this story, and you get all these different characters. There's a vast amount of characters. There's tons of dragons. And now the dragons are different. The dragons of the East are water and air dragons, and they're nice, they're revered, they're treated as gods. Humans can ride them. They are just highly revered. And in the West, they are called worms and wyverns, and they're like of earth and fire, and they breathe fire and from underground, and they are deadly and evil and kill. So in the West, they're scared of dragons. They absolutely hate them. In the East, they worship dragons, and the East and the West don't talk at all because of this, because of their varying differences. But it is so well told. It's a really easy to read story. Like, I'm not really big into high fantasy, but this book is so easy to read. Like, the way she writes, it's just very flowing. The plot is always moving. There's no dead space where you're describing a tree for like 45 minutes where you're just reading page after page. It's like, what is this shit? There's none of that in here. The plot is always moving forward. And it's really good. And that's why it bummed me out that I kind of got into a funk, because it's so good. But last night I read like over 100 pages. So I'm back into swing of reading. So I want to finish it this month because it is so incredibly fabulous. I absolutely love it. There is female-female relationship in here. Like I said, Nicholas Roos is also gay, but his lover has been long dead. He died like years prior, but he's also a gay man. So there's a lot of representation. There's tons of different races in here. It's just a very well represented and written book. I absolutely love it. Like, if you don't be intimidated by the size, it's a very easy read. But if it sounds at all interesting to you, please pick it up. Like, you won't be disappointed. So second of all, I'm going to get out of the way Flesh by Richard Lehman. As you may have noticed, I did post a review on this book. And the reason is I fucking DNF'd the bitch. It was terrible. Like, and I told myself I wasn't going to try to, I was going to try not to DNF any Richard Lehman books, even if I hated them, because of the project of reading all of his works in order. But this one had a trigger for me that I just could not do. Like I said, I've watched him do rape and, like crazy amounts of rape and female violence against women, and it's just, and I'm fine with that. Like, there was a fucking orgy in Beware. Like, I mean, come on. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that I don't mind, but this was terrible. The whole point of Flesh is that there is like this slug-like creature that like gets on your body and like gets into your spine or whatever, and I'm just like, I can't do that. Any bugs or anything like that invading a human body, I just can't do. That is like my trigger. I guess I do have a limit. Like, that is my limit. That is really, really hard for me. Like, I tried reading the book The Strain, which that TV show is based on the vampire book, and like the worm thing goes in your eye. Oh, no. No. So I DNF'd it. I didn't get very far. First mention that slug, I'm like, nope, I'm out. See ya. So I just read a little bit online to see if I missed anything. I really didn't, but I can't do the bugs invading the body. So I didn't rate it. I just DNF'd it. I will try not to do that. I'm excited about the next one, Resurrection Dreams, because I believe I've read that one before, and that one is more of his style from the 90s, even though it was written in the 80s, like late 80s, that I really enjoy. So hopefully that one's better than Flesh was. But the first actual book I finished in the month of March was Obsidio by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. This is book 3 in the Illuminate Files trilogy. It is the finale. It was great, and I loved it. I gave it 4 stars. I gave it 4 stars. I loved the story. It was really good. I like how it wrapped up. It wrapped up very nicely. I loved the way that they made everything come full circle, and everything they did was not for naught. I can't really say too much about the plot because it's the 3rd book in a series, so spoilers. But the one thing I will say, and it kind of drives me nuts, and I think it's because it's YA, nobody dies. Spoiler alert. Nobody dies. Everybody who dies is unimportant. The main cast members that you get to know and love in Illumination Gemina, nothing happens to them. They all survive. I mean, there's not even a threat. It's kind of like that YA trope where they don't kill their darlings. They're just like, oh, it's a Sarah J. Maas kind of trope, like where, oh, it doesn't matter what happens or what they do because you know damn well they're not going to frickin' die. And that's exactly how it was in this series. Nobody of importance dies that you even give a shit about. Like, none of the main characters die. There's not even a threat. So, I mean, that's why I docked a full star. And I know Jay Kristoff has no fear killing his darlings at all. He does it all the fucking time. But I think this is because it's YA and it's written with Amy. I think that's why they didn't, because of the audience. Whereas like Nevernight, where he has no problem killing everybody, is an adult fantasy. But I still enjoyed it. The story's amazing. I love the mixed media format. I mean, there's not much you can say about the series that hasn't been said already. But yeah, if you haven't picked up Illuminate and you like sci-fi at all, it's a fun way to kind of dip your toe into sci-fi. The next book that I finished is absolutely my favorite book of the month. It's probably going to be on my best books of all time and my best books of 2019. I can tell you that right now. And I don't think it'll be a stretch for you to figure out which one it is, because everybody's raving about it on BookTube. Everybody's reading it on BookTube. And that's Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. First thing I'm going to say about this book is I'm fucking pissed off because why do the UK people, like why do people in UK get all of the really awesome fucking covers? I'll insert a picture right here of what the UK cover of Daisy Jones and the Six looks like, because here, well, maybe if I get it right here. I mean, really? Really? Like, this is basic bitch boring. It's white and kind of beige and like, it's not, there's nothing to it. That cover is fucking stellar. Like, beautiful. And it has black sprayed edges. Like, what the, or black sprayed pages. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, and we don't get, and Taylor Jenkins Reid is American. Like, I don't understand, like, why don't we get cool editions like that? How come the UK gets cool editions like that? It just makes me so jealous. But aside from that, this book was an easy 5 stars. I knew I was going to rate it 5 stars 50 pages in. It is one of the most amazing, and I would probably consider this is contemporary, I would say. Contemporary literary fiction-ish. Like, I don't know how to classify Taylor Jenkins Reid because she hits on a lot of really good, like, hard topics, but does it in a way to where it, like, it doesn't feel like that sappy contemporary bullshit. It just feels like real, like, and this is exactly that. Like, she's heavily influenced by Fleetwood Mac. This tells the story of Daisy Jones and the Six. So you've got the 6 band members, and then you've got Daisy Jones, who becomes one of the lead singers. There's a lot of exploration of friendship and family and just working together to make something beautiful, like as an artist. It's just, you can tell she was heavily influenced by Fleetwood Mac because the way the story is told, like you can so see Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks so much. But this book was absolutely fabulous. I don't know what to say about it without giving things away. First of all, this is told in an oral history. So it's not a linear storyline. It is like a series of interviews, like, so it almost looks like you're reading a transcript of interviews, pretty much. So like an oral history. Kind of think of, like, remember that show from the 90s, Behind the Music? Think Behind the Music, but in a book form, pretty much. It is so well told. So like it's taking place in present day. So the interviews are taking place in present day, and it's to make a book about the band, because the band was really huge in the 70s, and in 1979 they broke up, and nobody knows why. And because nobody knows why, like, and the whole band has been silent about it for years, for 30 years. They've never said, or 40 years now, they've never said one word about why. Nobody knows why. And when they quit, their star was just hitting its peak. Like, they were super famous, selling out shows, selling millions of records, and everybody's like, why the hell did you guys quit? And this tells the story of why. And it's like a combination of Almost Famous and Fleetwood Mac, and it was just so beautifully told. It almost gave me a little hint of A Star is Born 2 in there. Like, it is just so amazing and so well told. Taylor Jenkins Reid is amazing at crafting a story in a way that makes you feel, I don't cry in books, and I didn't cry in this one, but the reason why they broke up was so heartbreaking and sad, but it had good behind it too. Like, it's just so hard to describe. Like, it is amazing. This book was fabulous. I read it in 2 sittings. I could not put it down. You don't know who the narrator is or who's doing the interviews. It just says, I think, interviewer or something like that, and you don't know who it is until the very end of the book. It's just, and it's an important person, so it makes sense. But it's just, it's so good. Like, I'm like speechless. I'm at a loss for words on how to describe it, how to talk about it. It's just, trigger warnings though for heavy drug and alcohol use. Like, if you're a recovering addict, there may be some triggers. I mean, there's a lot in here, and it's the 70s. So they explore a lot of that in there. Also, there's a small trigger warning for abortion. But other than that, it's pretty, you know, those are the main triggers. But it's just, oh, I can't wait to see what she writes next. She's an autobiography author. I haven't read any of her ones before Evelyn Hugo, and I don't think I ever will, because those are, like, more contemporary romance, whereas Evelyn Hugo and this one just so aren't. Ugh. Go read this book if you haven't. It deserves all the hype it is getting. I hear the audiobook is absolutely fabulous. If audiobooks are your thing, it's got a full 100% cast, and they have some of the music in here. And that's one of the things, like, the main album that they talk about here, the album that they're touring on when they quit, is called Aurora. And at the back of this book, it has all of the songs that are on the Aurora and all the lyrics. So, I mean, she went above and beyond. I mean, not even just writing a story, and pretty much wrote a whole album. Like, it's so good. So good. Go read Taylor Jenkins Reid. Go read Daisy Jones and the Six. It was an easy 5 stars. I knew it was 5 stars in the beginning. It's easily one of my most favorite books I've read so far this year, and probably will stay at the top of that list until the end of 2019. The next book I picked up is one of my Book of the Month picks for January, I believe. And that is The Other Woman by Sandy Jones. This is a thriller. I gave it 2 stars. It wasn't very good. It was very predictable. This tells the story of a girl. I can't even remember her name. Oh, Emily. Emily and Adam. Yes. So there's this girl named Emily. This takes place in Great Britain. Girl named Emily. She meets the man of her dreams named Adam. And the only thing standing in the way of their love is his mother. And her name is Pammy. And, you know, his mother just stands in the way of everything. And so, I mean, it's like one of those domestic psychological thrillers. And it sucked. It sucked. It was tropey. I've seen it before. I've read it before. It was dumb. Like, Pammy does stuff to sabotage them intentionally, like, and says different things, and it's just, but, okay, spoilers, because, you know, 2 stars, it sucked, it was predictable, saw the twist coming a mile away, saw the twist on, like, page 20 or 30, so skip forward until I'm no longer holding this book if you don't want to know spoilers. But spoiler alert, Pammy's not the bad guy, Adam is. Shocker. The whole reason she's been trying to get, you know, them to break up is because she knows her son is a horrible, abusive piece of shit and is trying to save Emily the trouble. And you get hints of that, like, it is so glaringly obvious. Like, what is it, like, on page, like, 20 or 25? Like, they're driving to meet his mother for the first time, for her to meet his mother for the first time. And, like, she makes a comment about something small, like music she listens to or something that he said his mom liked, and he immediately got defensive and just, you know, really verbally abusive, and I was like, oh, dude, the mom's not gonna be the bad one, it's him. He's the douchebag. Sure as shit. Yeah, he ends up being a terrible person. And towards the end, he ends up doing something terrible, and he ends up being in jail for the rest of his life. I'm pretty sure he killed somebody or attempted to kill somebody. Like, I think he attempted to kill Emily. He attempted to kill her. It's just a piece of shit. And he ends up in jail the rest of his life. And by the end of the book, it's her and her daughter, which is Adam's kid, and his mother. They're all, like, the best of friends. And, you know, Adam's brother, who is also who's a great guy or whatever, and they're all hanging out. And her mother-in-law, who now she's, like, best friends with, is dying of cancer. I mean, it was stupid. It was dumb. Totally not worth it. 2 stars. It sucked. I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, it's short. I mean, if you don't mind, like, you know, super tropey, figure it out, super easy thrillers, go right ahead, but meh. And the last book I finished in the month of March. I was so happy to finally get this done, because the 3rd book in this series comes out in today's April 2nd when I'm filming this, comes out in exactly a week from today. And that's Grey Sister by Mark Lawrence, and this was 5 stars. It was fabulous. I'm glad I finally finished this. I've been reading this for like 3 months. Like, I kept putting it down, and I don't know why, because I love The Sisters of Sweet Mercy. I love Nona Gray. Like, I do not understand why I put this down. But this is book 2 in the Book of the Ancestor series. Book 3, Holy Sister, comes out on April 9th, I believe it is, which is a week from today. This is fabulous. Like, the ending was just like, holy shit, what? I can't really say much about the plot because of spoilers, but the majority of this book takes place away from the convent and, like, out in the world, which was really cool. A lot of intense, crazy shit going on. A lot of relationships developing. Some being ruined. There's another bad, you know, girl at the school kind of thing that took the place of the other one. Like, it's just nuns, killer nuns. I've talked ad nauseum about the Book of the Ancestor series. I don't really need to say much of it. I mean, obviously, duh, I gave 5 stars. Like, who wouldn't? I mean, I love this book. I just keep shouting at everybody to read this series because it is so good. And for me, like, not being that big of a fantasy reader yet and getting into reading it, like, thank you, Sam from Thoughts on Tomes. Like, this is her fault. I picked up Red Sister because of her. Absolutely fucking loved this book. It was so good. Like, Nona Gray is everything. So much bi and gay rep in here. A lot of diversity. It's just, and it's not forced. It's just so great. I just want to be a sister so bad. Like, it's just very, very well told story in this world. I kind of wish there was a little bit more. Maybe we'll get that in the 3rd book of why the world is the way it is. I mean, you get some, but you know, like, the sun is dying. That's pretty much what it is. The sun is dying, and so, like, there's ice creeping. So there's, like, this line all the way around the equator of this world, and the ice on the rest of it, and it's creeping towards the equator as the sun dies. So, I mean, I guess that explains a little bit more, but, like, I'd love to get, like, a series, like, where it goes back into the past, like, when Abbess Glass, who runs the convent, like, when she was younger, and, like, an active sister, and, like, all sorts of other things. Like, it would just be... I just love this world so much, and I love these people, these characters so much. They're just so amazing. Like, if you like fantasy at all in Inkling and you don't mind the epic violence, please pick these up. This was so great. I'm so happy I finally finished it so that I'm totally ready when Holy Sister hits my doorstep next week. Okay, guys, that's it. That is my quick little March wrap-up. Sorry if I'm kind of jumbled. I'm filming at home. It's spring break. Both my kids are here. They've been in and out. So I might have lost my train of thought a little bit. I mean, I don't really have... Daisy Jones is, like, really hard to explain without spoiling it. You just need to go read it if you love Fleetwood Mac or 70s music, or if you love The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Monique, if you're watching, like, I know you hated The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. You'd probably not like Daisy Jones and the Six, because it's not the same, but you probably wouldn't like it as much unless you really are into 70s music or Fleetwood Mac. But I know Vicky's reading it right now and absolutely loving it. She messaged me this morning, was like, oh my god, I know I'm going to give it 5 stars. I am so hooked. This is amazing. So, yes. And she hasn't even read Seven Husbands yet, so this is her first foray into Taylor Jenkins Reid, so I'm so happy she's reading it. But please go read that one if you haven't. It's worth the hype. You know, Grey Sister, I've been talking ad nauseum about that book for months now because I couldn't seem to finish it. Did this month. But yeah, sorry, this is kind of a jumbled wrap-up. Not my usual, pretty precise. But with the kids in and out and all that, it's just kind of like, what am I doing? What is life? It is working and taking care of children. And with it being spring break, it's like, I have to get this filmed. I want to get it up. I see everybody else's March wrap-ups going up, so it's time to get mine up. But yeah, 5 books, 5.5. I mean, technically, I guess you could say like 6 because I read 400 pages of Priori, and that's like, that's a whole book in and of itself. So, but technically, well, really, 4.5 because I DNF'd Flesh, but whatever. I hope next month is a little better. Like I said, my daughter is in softball right now, and it's through the end of May, and we literally have softball 4 days a week sometimes. So I'm very, very busy. What I've been trying to do is her practices are an hour and a half long, at least 2 days a week, so I'm trying really hard to read during practice time because I'm stuck in my car. Like, I can't move. Like, it's just a perfect time to read. So, yes, I'm hoping next month will be better. I'm a little scared because if you've seen my TBR, we'll see. But I've got my buddy Read with Vicky that I'm really excited about. So yeah, that was my March wrap-up, guys. Please let me know down in the comments below if you've read any of these books, what you thought of these books. How did your March go? I'd love to talk with you guys in the comments. Please like and subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.